All right, so today we're gonna start getting into assemblies in Fusion 360. And assemblies in particular are probably one of the big things that sets Fusion 360 apart from other programs that you've used. So if you've used Inventor or SolidWorks, this may be a little bit, well, it will be a switch in the way you think about assemblies. And so in any drawing, so in any single part drawing, you can actually create an assembly within that part file. You don't have to create a separate assembly file and then bring individual parts into it like you do in SolidWorks. Um, and there's a couple reasons why they did that. So just like when you guys have sent me assembly files, in order for me to open those assembly files, I need all of the part files associated with that assembly. So if you have an assembly of 10 parts, I need 11 files from you. I need 10 part files and then one assembly file. Uh, Fusion 360, it's simpler to share and the files are smaller because it's all inside of one file. But to do that, it can seem a little more confusing. But we're gonna figure it out, and you'll get used to it, and yeah, it'll be good. So um, I'm just gonna go over two pieces of vocabulary. So you've got bodies and you have components. So over here in the manager, you're going to see these little cubes. The cubes represent components, and these little cylinders. So underneath this one, you'll see the bodies file underneath the component. The bodies are kind of like a little cylinder right there. And then you know that you're in an assembly because the top level um, title here has two blocks next to each other. Typically, when you just start a part drawing, it'll either be a cylinder or a block, just one single thing up there. Now you get two, so now you know it's a component. So bodies are it's a simpler form. So if you're gonna create a hole or create something simple, that's going to become, by default, it's going to become a body. You can convert bodies to components, but components can be moved, basically, is one of the big definitions. So these two components have these little red push pins. That means they're grounded, so they can't move, but the rest of these can actually move, these components. I'm just going to go ahead, put that back with Control Z. So these are all, they're all floating, basically. You can move them around. If you wanted to ground it, you just right click and say ground, and then you'll see the little push pin get put in place right there. But so you've got these two main kind of things, bodies and components. And you can also take a body and you can convert bodies to components. So if you right click, you can say create components from bodies. So a lot of the learning that you're going to do in the next couple days is figuring out the difference between components and bodies and how they, why one's useful in certain situations and why other ones aren't. You can also come over here and obviously you can use the eyeball to turn different components on and off. And the way you edit the components is you make it active. So let's say you wanted to edit that part, you're going to make that active, and you could turn off all of the visibility of all the other ones if you wanted to. So now you're in editing mode of this grip. So it gets pretty, it can be kind of confusing over here, but I'm gonna take it slowly. So for today, let me just pull over the Solid Professor page. Okay. So for today, we're going to start section 18, assembly structure. And I'm going to have you go through these 3 kind of videos. And I'd like you to be kind of playing around with it as you're going through the video. So, create components and bodies and stuff. And then I'm just going to have you do one of the, this bottle jack. You're going to insert some component. You're going to create a component in place in this assembly. And that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we'll get into these other 2. But I don't want to overwhelm you with stuff because it can get, this is kind of can be a confusing portion of Fusion 360. So yeah, kind of take it slow. If you have questions, let me know. And but otherwise, we'll keep right on going.